Hey guys, we are back and we are live. I am your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, I'm jacked up today. I'm excited that my friend Kellan decided to hang out with us, talk to us about what we need to do in order to up level our life and our business. But first, I want to thank our sponsors, as you guys know, Kurt Ballish of Ballish Woodworks, and also Tammy Moses of the Horde Solution. Thank you so much for supporting us. But guys, my new coffee has dropped. This is the first time I'm actually drinking it on camera, and I'm already buzzed. So if you guys loved Ass Kicking Coffee, not that other stuff, I'm not going to mention their names because I'll get sued. But now you can get coffee made by soldiers in your cup instead of the other brand. So guys, check it out. Folgers Coffee. Vertical Momentum Coffee, and my proceeds go to help veterans that are struggling with suicide and homelessness. So I make no money off of my coffee, just so you guys know. Kellan, my brother, what is going on?
Hey, I'm just thrilled to be here. I'm grateful, really, and I want to honor you for the work that you're doing. I have a phrase called add good to the world, and I see you're the embodiment of that. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Oh, it's my honor, and thank you for coming on. I love talking to people that have come back from the other side to doing great things in life. And a lot of my people that are listening to this, like we talked before earlier, they're veterans. Either they're looking to get out, or they just got out and they're looking to get into an entrepreneurship. And I want you to talk to them about a little bit about your story, who you are, and then how you can actually help them level up in life and in business.
Thank you for having me, and I'd be thrilled to do that. First of all, I never served in the military. I had two kids that were in the Marines, and I have 10 children, so only two of the 10. And so I have a great deal of respect for you and for those who have given that service to the country, whatever country you're in. Whatever country you're in, I honor that. My wife and I are both dual national. We're living in Canada right now, so I have citizenship in two countries and honor them both as bastions of freedom. So, what would you like me to start with, a story, or what would you like me to start with, Richard?
Just where you're from and how you became the man that you are today.
So I had a long executive career. I was in the energy industry for many years. I was raised in a sort of average middle class-ish home. I'm born in San Francisco, raised in California. My mom was really fanatic about religion and behavior. The discipline that I got would be felony child abuse today. Literally, I would have been removed from the home, kind of thing. But in those days, not only was it okay, it wasn't really okay then. It was severe. I remember getting dressed, even in high school, in the locker room at gym time and getting dressed last because I didn't want anybody to see I was black and blue kind of stuff. But anyway, even with that, the reason that's important is because I left that and lived through all my adult years believing that I was not good enough and I wouldn't be okay. Nothing that I ever did was okay. I wouldn't be good enough. And even though I left home at 17, I spent my entire adult life until I was 52. So 45 years trying to prove that I was okay, get that stamp of approval from my mom. And living like that is, depression to the max. You're never okay. I never got it, never will. But what it did is it led me through countless cycles of, I was married and divorced 3 times. I had other failed relationships. I had a off and on again flirtation with all kinds of drugs and alcohol in and out of rehab. And on the surface, I was very successful. So it's kind of like a movie where you see big success here, a lot of money, this and that and the other. And behind the scenes, it's like, holy crap, that was me. Finally, after literally 35 years of that, when I was 52 years old in August of 2007, it had deteriorated to the point where I was making more money than I knew what to do with, and I was a $3,000 a week cocaine addict. Okay, and I was making so much money that didn't matter. I was a wreck as a person. I was single again for the 3rd time and had 4 teenagers living with me, 4 of my kids. Some of them were grown up and married by then. But anyway, So that was the state of affairs. And I had already attempted suicide twice. And what happened then was a divine intervention. On a Friday night in August of 2007, I came home from work, ready to go binge for the weekend. And for some reason, I had this incredible urge to turn on the television. And that doesn't sound weird, except for I didn't watch TV. And even though I'd had the latest and greatest gigantic crap installed on the wall, I didn't know how to turn it on. So I had to ask one of my kids how to turn on the TV. It landed on a program titled Intervention, which I'd never heard of, but it's a reality TV show about that stuff, right? So I watched about 10 minutes, and the protagonist was a high-ranking executive with a cocaine problem. And so I watched about 10 minutes, and I could see that was me, and I'm like, I'm not watching this crap. So I turned it off and did some other stuff, went around the house, and then I was getting ready literally to go out the door, and I had this impossible urge to turn the TV back on. So this time I knew how. So I turned it on, and that show started over at the beginning. And no, I don't have a DVR, and no, it wasn't scheduled, and no, it can't do that. So it scared me, and I thought, obviously, I'm supposed to watch this. So I watched it, and it did not go well. The guy in the show got mad, stomped out, yelled at his relatives, went badly. But it scared me enough that I didn't go out. I went to bed. And then I went to hell. And I was, during that night, I experienced something where I saw the whole panoply of all my relationship failures and my addictions and everything, my failure as a dad, all paraded before my eyes, kind of like your life flashes before your eyes when you die. Only it wasn't yelling at me. It was just this horrifically sad drama. And I have never felt so tortured from my own thoughts in my life. And after some period of time, I heard a voice that said, "It is enough." And it was a quiet voice, but it said, "It is enough." I woke up, and it was 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon. So 18 hours that whole drama had taken, and I realized I'd been invited to change my life. So I got up and I threw away $1,000 worth of stash that I had, and realized I had to get out of the industry I was in. I had to completely change my life. But I had no idea how to do it or what to do, because I was 52 years old and I had never talked to a soul in my life about anything I felt. None of the depression. I'd never talked to a counselor. I'd never even uttered those words to anyone. So even though I got sober, that day it was $3,000 a week to zero in one day. Boom, done. 2 weeks later, the other path of the divine intervention happened. So in the position I had, I used to get all kinds of free stuff because I made big decisions. I was a C-level executive. So I got free tickets to this and, box seats to that, concerts and sporting events and things, front row seats and game side, court side, all that crap. So one of the things I got were 2 tickets to see a concert by a fellow named Yo-Yo Ma. If you know classical music, you know what that is. And if you don't, you don't. He's an electrifying performer. I was single again, and I didn't want to waste the other tickets. So I went to the groups that I managed, and I said, "Who likes classical music?" And some lady in one of the groups said, "Well, I do." I looked at her. I said, "Well, have I ever given you anything before?" And she said, "No." I said, "Okay, fine. Here, see you there." So we met. I didn't know her very well, but so we met at the concert, and halfway through, now I'm 2 weeks now, stone cold sober. Halfway through the concert, I had this feeling come over me, and I recognized it from 2 weeks before that this was some kind of an otherworldly feeling. And a voice said to me, "You need to marry this woman." And I said, "What you would have expected? You're insane. I've screwed that up all these times. That's not happening. Wires across. You're talking to somebody else, not me." So later that night, we were backstage because, of course, they were backstage passes. So we're backstage, and the voice feeling came back and said, "and you need to tell her tonight." And so I argued furiously because, of course, she could have sued me or have sexual harassment or all kinds of stuff. But you don't win those arguments. So I did. And it went about like you would have expected. She thought I was crazy, but she didn't go to the police or sue me or anything. Over the next 2 weeks, she had her own set of experiences. And 2 weeks later, she quit her position, and she had a very nice job in the company I was with. I resigned, and we wandered off into the sunset together. And that was 14 years ago. that other half of that divine intervention was the key to my getting a handle on beginning to deal with depression. She was literally an angel that was sent to help me face my demons, get some counseling, get some help, go see people, make it okay to do that, get rid of the need I had for external approval. I mean, she didn't wave a wand, but she was the catalyst to get that to start. Now, those two pieces were the divine intervention. They're spectacular and almost unbelievable stories. But what I know from that is that nobody, not even a 52-year-old loser who's ruined countless lives and that addicted, is beyond hope and beyond reach. Nobody, nowhere is too late, and you can change at any time. And in the last 14 years, I've developed a coaching practice, and I help people discover, develop, and manifest their own divine nature and gifts, even though when we walked away, we had no idea what we were going to do. So that's the story.
Now, a lot of people, they have a divine intervention, but they fail to take action steps. And, like a big mentor of mine, even though obviously I never met him, but Mr. Carnegie always talked about that you can have as much divine intervention as you want, but if you're not taking actionable steps, it doesn't really matter. So what were the steps that you took after leaving your job? Because now all of a sudden, you left your job, and some people might think you're kind of nuts for leaving your job because you heard God talking to you to marry this woman on the same day. So what was that like?
Well, look, you made a brilliant point, and that is every single thing that comes from the divine is issued as an invitation. And it is up to us to say yes. So I resigned 2 weeks later. I actually wasn't employed. I had contracts, but I walked away from millions of dollars worth of contracts into the new life thinking I have no idea what I'm going to do. But what I know for sure is I can't keep doing what I've been doing. And so this is one of those burn the boats moments, right? I burned the boats, and I had no flipping idea. And I didn't even tell you the last part of the story. My wife's name is Joy. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? So we burned the boats and walked off into the sunset. Now, the action was, okay, we have to do something. We're not going to sit here and do nothing. So I explored, what do I know how to do? Well, as a consultant, I'd been really successful in helping people do things they didn't believe they could do. Well, what is that? I think that's coaching. So I thought about that. My wife had run some antiques stalls in local antique malls. So she'd been an avid seller on the side on eBay of antiques and collectibles, silver, glassware, cups and saucers. So that ramped up. So we created some work. I did some studying, went to some coaching places, and you're right, took some action to create that. As far as the depression is concerned, I didn't do anything very useful for 2 years. It took me 2 years to talk honestly to a counselor. When I first went, because I believed that I needed to have everything tuned up, I couldn't even tell the truth. I mean, like, I told them what had happened to me and everything that had gone on. But then I said, and I figured out this, and I know this. And, I was trying to be in charge of both sides of the conversation. I'm sure those first therapists thought I was useless. It took me 2 years before I could tell the truth about my feelings, about myself. And Joy was just as active. I mean, she looked up therapists online and found their reputations. Well, this guy might be useful to try. And why don't you go see this guy? But in a real positive, supportive way, not you jerk, because she knew. I mean, everybody in the office knew I was a drug addict. They didn't know, but they knew because of rumors. So I've asked her a bunch of times, like, what on earth prompted you to walk away from a promising, powerful career into the sunset with a loser? And she said, I have no idea, but I just knew to the core of my soul that it was the right thing to do. So that's the answer to your question. You do get those invitations. It's going to be your choice every time they come to say yes or to say no, even if you don't know exactly what it means next.
Now, one thing that I've come to now, for me, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and just over the last 90 days, I've become more successful. It's because I started hiring coaches, hiring mentors. And a lot of people will make excuses. You know, they won't think twice about dropping $1,200 on an iPhone, but you ask him to go to a 3-day event for $1,500 and they're going to cry all over their shoes. And then they wonder why they're not going to get anywhere. So please talk to us about mentorship and why coaches need coaches.
I believe that a coach without a coach is a fraud, first of all. Second of all, if you can't afford to hire a coach, you can still create a coaching container. There's thousands of free resources available. The key isn't the resources. The key is your willingness to act. And you making excuses. People say I can't afford a $200 an hour therapist or a coach. I can't afford to pay $1,000 a month for a coach, or $2,000, or whatever the coach you want to hire charges. If you were going to die right now, if you didn't find $1,000 or $2,000 or $5,000, you'd find it. Like, how bad do you want to change your life? You have attempted suicide. You're depressed. You're an addict. You're broken. I was. You're allowed to stay there. How bad do you want to change?
You know, and I was just thinking as you're talking about that, you know, somebody that I always looked up to is Mr. Robin Williams. I mean, if you would talk to his wife now and say, how much would you pay right now for him to go see a therapist? She would have said, I'll give you the world just to have him back. You know?
That's right. That's right. There's no money. What people are usually saying when they say I can't afford it is it's camouflage for saying I don't believe I can do this. I'm afraid I will fail. So I'm going to hide behind I can't afford it. I'm going to hide behind I don't know that it'll do any good, because what's really going on is I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid I don't have the courage to do what it takes. People say to me, I want to make more money in my business. Okay. How much you making now? What are you doing? Okay. So here's some ideas. Do this, do this. You have to do this. I want to, oh, you mean I have to do that? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know it meant that. Well, you told me you were willing to do anything. Yeah, but I didn't. You know what I mean? What the people are really looking for is the sauce, the secret sauce they sell on aisle 13.5 at Safeway. That's the sauce you can pour on your current life and get a different result.
And that's the definition of insanity, right?
That's right.
But now, you know, a lot of, you know, I've talked to a lot of companies and I consult with a lot of businesses. And if they ever say to me, well, this is the way we always done it, that's when you know it's a wrap. It's over. You know, like where my store used to be, I used to be right next door to Radio Shack. They're gone. There's and a lot of people are, especially people our age and up, are afraid to move into the digital age. But if you're not in the digital age, you're going out of business. So how do you when you go, somebody wants to hire you and they say, you know, and you tell them, well, you know, you have to kind of get onto the digital age. And they're like, yeah, well, I think the internet is a fad. You know, what do you say to them when they say, well, this is the way we've always done it?
I just will agree with that. And I'll say, and the way you've always done it has got you right here where you are. And it has produced the results that you have today. Are you happy staying where you are? Yes or no? If you're happy staying where you are, then we don't have a lot to discuss because you're happy. If you're not happy where you are and you'd like different results, more sales, less work, less, then we have to do something different. Right? Like, you either have to do something different or you stay where you are, because your actions up to now created the life you have. If you want a different life, we got to figure out some different actions. That's it.
Now, okay, so now if you guys are watching this, please share this out, because this is the part that's going to get really interesting. So if you're watching this, please share it out. When we get out of the military, most of us, you know, I got out because I got hurt on duty. So I didn't know who Richard was. And it was a really scary place because I had no career. I lost my vision. and I didn't know who I was. And so if a person's getting out of the military, now in the military, we're taught how to do standard operations procedures. But when we start a business, it seems like we just wing it and fling it, just pray and spray. And we're out of business within six months to a year, and we're deep in debt. So what do you suggest for somebody that's about to get out of the military or is getting out of the military and they want to get in the entrepreneurial space?
The thing that I think is the most important is you're in the military, there's lots of order and structure and that kind of thing. There's one place where that kind of order and structure will continue to serve you well, and that's something I call a morning ritual. The morning ritual that I have when I teach it starts with a 40-minute process, but it really focuses around 4 areas of your life: spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental. If you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to get in business, anything, I'm going to be a plumber, I'm going to be an affiliate marketer, I'm going to be teach flower arranging, I'm going to do electronic repair, I'm going to go be a podcaster. You have to make a declaration. Okay, I'm not just going to be a podcaster. I'm going to talk to these people and I'm going to help them with this particular problem. Why? Because I said so. I've made a declaration that I'm going to be the very best podcaster in the universe, helping people get out of the military, figure out how to be in business. Okay. Like, nobody's going to argue with you. You make that declaration. Then the next question is, if I'm that, what does that person do? Well, that person does some research and they talk to the best minds they can find, and they go get things and they put product or programs together and they produce content. That's what they do if they're the best at that. I mean, and you can substitute that for anything. I'm going to be the best songwriter. I'm going to be the best pianist. I'm going to be the best plumber. Okay, what does the best plumber do? Well, they stay up on all the plumbing techniques, and they're friendly, and they make their customers feel like gold, and they get repeat business because they never leave a mess. And okay, then how do you show up as that person every single day?
Now, I do have a question for you, because I have a traumatic brain injury. If I don't ask it, I'll forget it.
Go for it.
Now, you've done a lot of stuff with the music industry.
I have.
Correct? What makes, because there's so many artists out there, there's so much talent out there, what makes the cream rise to the top in the music industry?
Work. Like, I won't give up. I won't quit. I'm doing, I have a lot of music that I've done. I've been in choirs. One of the choirs that I was in is charted #1 on Billboard 4 times. The thing that made that happen was just work. Insistence on excellence. You work so hard that other people dismiss you as naturally talented. Other people use you as the excuse why they don't try. Like, you get that good. That's what it is. And yeah, there's some breaks, and yeah, you might know somebody, but people are way too quick to blame those lucky breaks. You get what you work for. You get what you bleed over. That's what you get, not what you wish for.
Now, like I said, I'm a kind of guy that I'm very deep into mindset, learning about mindset. And a great book called Atomic Habits came out with James Clear. And he talks about, focusing on one thing. And to where it seems like a lot of people, when they go, because I'm a big basketball guy, and they talk about how Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan were just so focused, they didn't focus on anything else. And it seems like a lot of people, once they get famous for one thing, they start focusing on everything else, and then they lose it all. Mm-hmm. So talk to us about focus on one thing until successful.
Well, I was listening to a motivational thing the other day, something on YouTube. I found a channel I kind of like. And they said, this one guy said, insanity and greatness are next door neighbors. And the way I say that is madness and mastery are next door neighbors. Like, if you really want to master something, then you have to get into it. You can't be casual about it, because there's too many other people that are willing to outwork you.
Mhm.
There's too many other people that are willing to spend more hours than you producing beats in your music or creating things, doing that research and finding out what other people have done to be successful. You can have what you want. You really can. You can have what you want, but you got to work for it.
Now, do you believe, because I'm a big believer, and I forget who said it. I read, so I got 9 books going at all times. So, but somebody said recently that consistency trumps intensity over the long haul. So talk to us about consistency and not just being an intense. Like there's a lot of people that were one-hit artists and were out of the music business within 2 years, and then you get people like Smokey Robinson still making music 50 years later. So please talk about a little bit about consistency over intensity.
I love that. And I even sometimes teach that consistency trumps content. What I mean by that is I used to teach piano. I started teaching when I was 17 because I started playing when I was 5. So I had my first piano student when I was a teenager. What I noticed I don't teach anymore, but I did for probably 40 years. What I noticed as a piano teacher of both beginners and advanced, I taught at college and jazz improv and theory and composition, a bunch of stuff. What I noticed is that people who practiced regularly, 30, 45 minutes a day, made more rapid progress than people who spent more hours but crammed it all in on the weekends. So some would come and they would practice 5 hours on the weekend on Saturday or something, and try to get all the practice in. We don't physically or mentally assimilate that way. So if you want to get good at something, you have to do it every day. Like you do. We do. Our bodies, our minds, our capability is reinforced. So I noticed over and over again the students that practiced every day made faster progress than the ones that spent just as many or even more hours binging. So consistency trumps that intensity. What you said, absolutely every time. Period. And the other reason is because then we get in the habit of doing something, atomic habits. Like I just do it. Every day I get up and I do my morning routine. I live in Edmonton, Alberta. In the wintertime, there's always a week or two. I'm not looking forward to it. It hasn't happened yet, but sometime in the rest of this month or next month, we're going to have a week where it's minus 40. Okay? I would no sooner skip my morning routine than run outside naked in the snow when it's minus 40. It's just not something I would do. You don't. So I don't skip it because it gives me so much power. That consistency trumps intensity every time in every field, period.
Okay, so now for the last couple of minutes, if you were going to start your business all over again with little to no money, how would you do it?
I would, truthfully, what would I do? I would find, by experimenting, because you don't go dig up clarity in the yard, I would find something that I love to do. I have a little saying, clarity is overrated. It's not found, it's created. I would find something that I love to do that I knew was valuable and would help somebody. And I would do it so often and so loud on social media. And I wouldn't do all of them. I'd pick the 1 or 2 social media that are the places where the people I want to help are. So I wouldn't do it on TikTok if I was talking to people our age. And I wouldn't do it if I'm talking to kids. I wouldn't do it on Facebook. So you pick the social media that is the target, and I would talk about it, and I would talk about it, and I would talk about it. I have a podcast I'm doing. I started at the beginning of the pandemic. It's called Your Ultimate Life. I decided if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So it's a daily podcast. I just recorded episode 555. Like, it's just do it, pick it and do it. And podcasts are free. And guess what? People listen and then they comment and then they get to you. I have got clients for my business from Facebook posts. People message you. Can I talk to you? Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, and yes. So that's what I do. Social media is free. All those kinds of things are free to do. What people lack is what you said, which is consistency.
Now, I love what you're talking about. Now, it seems like me and you might have read a couple of the same books, Mr. Napoleon Hill.
Oh, yeah.
So talk, because a lot of people, I stopped watching the news, I think, a year and a half ago. I only watch it for the weather, and then I shut it off, because something that Napoleon Hill was taught by Mr. Carnegie is whatever you obsess, you possess. So if you're obsessing over negative stuff's going to happen in your life. It's, and like my mentor, Mr. Ed Milet, always talks about the reticular activating system in the brain. Whatever you're looking for, you're going to find.
That's
so
right.
Whether you're looking for success or for failure, you're going to find it. So for the last couple of minutes, can you talk about mindset and focusing and turning your obsessions into your possessions?
I love the fact that you ask about mindset. Here's the thing. I can't control what anybody else does. I can't control what anyone says, what the news media does, what anybody does. I can't control any of that. So if I spend my precious attention and energy on things I can't control, that's a waste. Literally, I have wasted my life, my time, my energy, my thoughts. So the things I can control is my attitude, my language, my mouth, my hands, my thoughts. So that's where you focus, because what you seek, you will find. What you look for, you get. You don't get what you want, you get what you create. I do the same thing. I don't watch the news at all, ever. If I need to know something, I'll look it up on my phone, and I'll take 2 minutes and look at it. And that's it. Why? Because that isn't giving me anything I need to know. It isn't giving me anything I need to build a good life. It isn't giving me anything I need to serve and bless someone else's life with. So your mindset is the one thing you have absolute authority over, nothing else. So that's worth the most attention and love.
One of my favorite quotes of all time was by Mr. Malcolm X. When he was in prison, they asked him, how does it feel to be locked up? He says, my body may be in prison, but my mind is free. Right. So, I love what you're talking about. So how do we, because I know you wrote a plethora of books. Talk to us about your books, how we can find you, and how we can possibly get coaching from you.
If you want to talk to me, I'm easy to find, because with a name like Kellan Fluckiger, I can't hide. So from my executive career, there's thousands of hits on Google. Getting the website, www.kellanfluckiger.com, was really easy. There was no competition. If you want to connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, please do. Facebook Messenger, I respond to. My email is, you can get on my email list on my website. So I'm easy to get a hold of. All my books are on Amazon. So if you go on Amazon and put my name, Kellan Fluckiger, in there, you'll find a bunch of books, a bunch of music. Spotify has a bunch of music. The podcast that I do, 500 and something episodes, it's on Amazon and Spotify and Apple. And
what's the name of your podcast again?
Your Ultimate Life.
I love it. That sounds like a book right there.
Your ultimate life. And I define it: a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy that you create by serving with your divine gifts. That's the definition of an ultimate life. It's the life I have now learned to live after all of the battles and headaches and heartaches.
Well, guys, you heard it. Definitely go check him out, because I'm going to check him out. I'm going to be listening to his podcast. I'm going to be picking up his books because I like to learn. So, guys, just remember, if you see anything, if you found anything you really enjoyed, leave a comment, and I'll send it over to Kellan, and I'm sure we'll get back to you. Guys, if you love coffee, make sure you get your Vertical Momentum coffee. My proceeds from it, I make $0 on purpose. It goes to help veterans that are struggling with mental health issues and homelessness. So always trying to pay it back. Kellan, brother, thank you so much. This goes out live now, and it's going out again in another 6 weeks everywhere. So you get 2 for the price of 1.
Thank you. And again, I want to honor you for adding good to the world. Like, we have a choice of what we add besides carbon dioxide. We get to choose what we add to the world. And you are choosing with your actions and your attitude and your encouragement to add good to the world. And I honor you for that.
I love it. Guys, remember, vertical momentum. The only way to go is but up. Catch you on the flip.